You know when I got to go to the restroom, powder. Powder.
Yeah.
In the old days.
Oh, yeah.
Someone lifted you up in prayer, and then I said that you texted me that your knee was hurting because you mentioned you're recovering from knee surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't see her here. Her knee's hurting, but she's going to be here for me. So it was like towards the end of the service, I looked, I said, Major, maybe he texted you that I'm not able to make it. And then as soon as I do that, you walk in and do the door. Your time is impeccable.
I was going to make it.
I know you would. You know? Okay. And the agenda's good. Okay, good. Minutes. Okay, so where did we decide? We're going to go with Bill's suggestion to kind of do the introduction of the new council of Ohio. Maybe after the financial break, before the survey, before we get into that. So
Yeah.
that little list. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna wait. I always prefer to wait.
The X's up members. Oh, you have to write?
Now it's 54. When I got up, it was about 35, 38 degrees. Now it's 54. When I got up, it was about 38 degrees. Now it's 54. It is. Today's high is 64. And that's still not for an East Coast person. Maybe you texted me. You're texting me.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I just threw a note in YouTube and told everybody to sign in and put their name in the chat, and then I'll add them to the list. And only members only need to sign in. I know.
If people are,
We don't have anybody online doing that, right?
no, we can talk about it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I would make it right.
I was thinking there's a big existing church they built for the American members, and then the Arrow Project is there, which is the Unitarian building.
Yep.
Right next to that, I thought they were going to sadly put in another mega prayer complex. It's not. That entire land is dedicated to some massive worship center.
Okay. I've been
And
probably
I
by it
don't know,
several
like, if
times.
they're, I don't know if they're like gonna offer space or whatever, but
Well, if
it's
it's
a
nice
huge
and
facility.
it might
And
not
it's
be
right,
about,
it's right
yeah,
next to Central.
yeah.
Oh,
I'll take a look, because I drive by, you
Yeah.
know, I sometimes get on 2920.
I was somewhat happy it wasn't.
Where is it? Where is it?
yeah.
Have you heard of the Arrow?
Yes.
That building?
Yes.
It's right next to the Arrow. I thought it was going to be because the Arrow got built on one side by an apartment complex.
Yeah.
Just on the other side, it's not a complex. It's this massive worship center.
You want me to call them over?
Just check. Yeah.
Because what you said,
Folks, we're going to get started in about 5 minutes, so if everybody can wrap up their food.
Or an area.
It's between Ella or Flavel and the next one would be Rose.
Yes, roads. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yep. Oh.
Okay.
Somebody told me, because, Patrick Felix said to me, everyone has a reputation, I really don't know about reputation. And then you just tell yourself, somebody else has it way worse. No matter how shitty my day is, somebody has it way worse. That's true. Doesn't make it good to think that, but it does help put it in perspective.
Hey, Mary Lowell. Yeah. Do we need to print out minutes from the last meeting?
They're not on the agenda, so I can't do anything with them. It wasn't on the agenda that I saw.
so maybe we should not get into that.
Okay.
We'll get too complicated.
Let's not get into that. We'll do that in January.
Okay. All right. We'll just do it in January.
Because what are you saying? Have they read them?
No, I was gonna print it for this morning, and then I was told it wasn't on the, and I looked at the agenda, and it wasn't on the.
That's what I'm saying.
Now it's on the agenda.
Just keep it out. We'll do that in January. Yeah.
Okay.
Not right now, gracias.
Meeting work. Shake. No, I want to know for at least shake for you. Yeah. High five? High five? You gotta at least work for it. Well, tattoo ink, and we'll sign you up for some tattoo ink.
What? Oh.
Okay. Pastor Felix, you want to come do the... We're going to get started, folks.
Okay, great, folks. You can bring your stuff over, too. Just pick up the crumbs. Okay. Our opening prayer. Oh God, Holy One, mystery beyond mystery, source of life, We pray that your guidance will be with us through this meeting. We bring our questions, we bring our concerns, we bring our vision, we bring our hopes, and this is the space and the forum to share them all. Be with us as we trust in you, as we know that we all care and want the best for our congregation. Thank you for those present here and online, and we ask again your guidance. We pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Okay. Do we have quorum? Mary? Okay, we have quorum. Yay. We're going to put off approval of the minutes from the last meeting until January, because we are having another meeting in January to vote on the new council and all of that. So, Kathy, you want to do the financial update?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody, just for those online or those who may not know me, so I'm Kathy Normand. I pay the bills and work on the financial side of things. And I wanted to give a very brief financial update. I'll put it in context as we go through the slides. So we can go to the next slide, and I just wanted to kind of reconnect. So I've worked either job shadowing, I'll call it that, or partnering for the last 2.5 years with the other financial officers that have been at the church. And I want to just say that I can empathize with the challenges that they went through in being in this position. So what I will show you in our financial update is, unfortunately, is not super positive. It's been the ongoing message for the last couple of years that I've been part of. And it does take an emotional toll. And I wanted just to share quickly why I still do it, right? Because one, it's volunteer. So you can see Loka's here with me today, and she's my little pup and my best friend. She enjoys coming here, and I enjoy sharing her with others, and it's just kind of that sense of community. So I can be transparent and authentic. I'm a dog person, cats too, but dogs first. But yeah, it's just something here that's volunteering. In that picture, I didn't give her credit. That's Mary out there doing some gardening on cleanup day. Just the fact of being able to feel like you can be part of something of the greater good and giving back. And it's a small thing, but the volunteering and helping to keep the church looking, landscaped and stuff. And then just the people that we see and join in the community. So when you walk in the morning, you get to say good morning, and you get to give hugs, and who cares what you wear? I mean, I will say that every time I come to church, my mom's like, is that what you're wearing? And I pretty much have said since I was 20, does it matter? I'm not sure he was wearing or whatever cared about it at the time. Why should I necessarily? So, so again, the fact that we can just be communion who we are. So I know there's been testimonials about why we give and why we're part of Plymouth. And I shared last year, my kids were baptized here 20 some odd years ago, had left for other reasons, but been back, and so happy to be here. So I just want you to think about this as I talk about the financial update, because something that it's hard for me to give the financial update because I know how dire straits we are, and I know that there's, I'll say it, there's a few people who continue to give very generously, but we have a pretty broad community when we send out emails, and we really need to have help from everyone to sustain our community. So none of this up here can happen if we don't have that. And very quickly, I know Cindy and TJ and Paula and Judy and Mary and Amy and lots of people, I'll put it up here, volunteer and keep our costs down. So when I look at how much we pay for things, what we don't pay, we pay very minimal in landscaping because we have people coming in to do it volunteer. We don't pay for cleaning crews, right? That's a significance. We have people coming in, we have people using the restrooms, the kitchens, we don't pay. That is endless volunteer hours by somebody I see here today. So I just want to say that, I understand and appreciate that people are giving in those manners, but if you can't find a way to either help in those spaces with the others, see if you can help in the stewardship campaign and others. So I just really wanted to give a shout out to the volunteers, because I know what it takes to get in here, and I am grateful that we aren't having to pay those additional bills. We just don't have the money to do that. So the fact that the church is doing as good as it is in its cleanliness and its upkeep is impressive just in the volunteers. So, a little mini round of applause for those people who do the volunteering. All right, next slide, which is really about the numbers. Last 2 years, I've helped the financial people put together detailed slides. And I was hoping that by sheer transparency and showing what's happening on every line item of everything, it would kind of sit and people go, oh crap, okay, we really need to step it up. That really hasn't worked. So I wanted to simplify the message, right? Truly, straight up. In January, basically what we had to run the church with was $25,000. As of today, we are down to $18,000, okay? Now, I don't know if you all do your finances or pay attention at home. We are averaging $16,000 a month to run this church. That's how much that's coming in. It's averaging $18,000 to run the church, to pay the bills. That means we are down $2,000 every single month that we are taking from what ended up being our CDs. So we had money set aside. We tried not to touch it. We tried really hard not to touch it. We just can't. Because if you look at it, we operated in $24,000 of a deficit in the year. So the CD was worth $20,000. So you can see what happened here. We had to cash the money out, and now we're back to this. So this is the simplest as I can make it. And you can say, well, it sucks that we have to pay more in building insurance. Welcome to the United States. It's happening everywhere. I think everyone's feeling it in their homeowner's insurance. You can say we had to pay more for some repairs or something. That's just part of living and being part of a community. It was a great summer, guys. We actually paid very little in water, very little actually in electricity. We didn't have the same drama that we had in the past years, but we still operated at a deficit. Okay.
See if they can hear you better, but I'll still monitor YouTube.
Lori, can you hear us better? Technology. So in short, right, the bills are kind of staying average, right? We had a good year this year as far as like the weather to help us out and so forth. A few trees down wasn't great with some of the stuff, but you can see here, we just aren't bringing in enough money every month, right? So I know there's 80 plus people on distribution lists. I can tell you that it's not 80 people or 80 households providing back, right? So what I would just make sure to think about as we go forward is how do we help in that? We had two things happen this year. We said we wanted to have the Financial Grow campaign, and so we were asking people to pledge what they were going to do. And then we also had a special fundraising campaign. So before I go to the next slide, a very positive, again, takes volunteer hours. There is a bottom greenish box in the left-hand side. That money is not to be used for anything other than the Resource Center and the music program. So the great news is that we were able to get grants because people wrote them, defended them, and went after the money. It's all volunteer time. But it has given us the opportunity to have music, to have guitar players, to have singers, and so forth. So I want you to know that there is $13,000 that are tied there. It cannot be used for anything other than the music and resource. So I could have put it into the line, but I don't want people to think that's how we can pay our electric bill or our water or our minister or so forth. That is purposely only for our music and resource center. So if we didn't have those grants, we'd be even further in deficit, right? Because we would have to do something with the music program to license our music and so forth. So I just wanted to highlight that. Is this really pretty clear? In short, we're running, and we have no more CDs to cash in. We do have no longer an extra 20,000. So if we run again in deficit, that's just going to be where we're going to have to make some very difficult financial choices. So going forward is the next steps on the next slide. So I really do encourage, if you didn't fill out your Grow campaign card, or have just already gone into push pay and set up a recurring automatic payment for what you can do, please do so. I just urge you, even if it's $25 a month or $100 a month, whatever it is that you can keep, because again, go back to that why. Why are you here? You get to sing, you get to hug people, you get to pet Shelby Mack, you get to give high fives. Shannon's here watching over us. Those are names, right? These are not just faces. They're names of a community. So just really make sure to give into that Grow campaign. Secondly, the funding of the future. That was a letter that was authored by community members here. And it's very heartfelt. It reaches out that you can send to loved ones or others who are wanting to give into this community. I think just getting the word out of this community and the fact that we are open and welcoming, come as you are, you cannot reinforce that is enough. And there are people who want to be here. So just talk about Plymouth. Post it on Facebook. Do things that you can do. Just share the fact that you had a great Sunday. You'd be amazed at what people do and come in. So leverage that funding of the future. We will continue to minimize and eliminate non-critical or essential spend. Now, I know you guys are like, how do you determine that? It's where we would get in trouble. We have to pay the IRS. We have to pay the building, the insurance on it, because it's liability purposes. We obviously have to pay for the electricity and water, those things. Things that would get very difficult to pay for are some of our online things, our subscriptions to have Microsoft to run PowerPoints and those types of things. Really don't want to do that because then it injures the church. People wouldn't be able to attend online. It would make coming here a little bit more difficult. So office manager type stuff. So just be mindful that we will have to look at even slimming down more what our essential services are that get paid first. And then last but not least, I just wanted to reiterate, because it had been talked about before, if we do run into a place where financial crisis occurs, that basically means I can't write the bills and cover them, that the bank would actually overdraw the accounts. That means that payroll has to be ran, taxes have to be met, and then basically the essential buildings. If we see in 30 days that we can't be able to do that, we will go ahead and take Pastor Felix's offer up on a temporary salary reduction that had already been shared. That's nothing new. We've held off, right? We talked about, like, people like, where's that going to be starting last October, 2 months ago? We've been able to do this, right? We've been penny pinching. Amy knows. I talk to her all the time. She's like, can I bring this person in to cut the grass? Can we do this? And I'm like, yes, no, we don't have it, and whatnot. We've played all the chess pieces that we've had. We just don't have any more moves on the chessboard. So if we get to this, that will be the next step. Hoping that we don't have to do that, y'all. I really do. I really hope that the pledge cards and the push pays and the in-person give us enough to move forward and really get going and sustain us. We don't want to have to come next October and have that same thing. So those are really in a nutshell. So basically, we're $2,000 every month short. And, that's what we need to try and find to make up, not just amongst us. I do want to highlight, in 2025, I predict $3,000 a month short. We had a tenant here who was covering a significant portion of our bills, and that's almost $1,000 a month in revenue that we will no longer have starting in 2025. So where we were 2,000 negative this year, when we lose that, starting in January, we'll basically be at 3,000. So that's a significant thing by losing that rental tenant. So I'll take questions before handing it back over.
I just want to say something. When we talk about minimize, eliminate non-critical spend, I just want you to know that as a council, working with Pastor Felix and with the officers, we have done everything we can possibly do to have as bare bones a budget as possible. And I think with number 4 up there, I mean, that speaks to how bare bone the budget has been, that Pastor Felix has even offered to do this, if we need him to do that. The other thing I want to say is what Kathy's talking about is literally just keeping the doors open. We're not talking about being able to fix a foundation. We're not talking about being able to replace an air conditioning or a heating unit, or, you know, do something new with the playground or anything like that. That is just bare bones, keep the doors open.
Thank you. Great clarity. I appreciate it. I mean, I said, let me just come back to that story. I've shadowed 2 people who were in this position, and the stress and emotional stress that they felt watching this happen, I can tell you it's stressful. It really is, sitting in this position going, and I'll be honest, I'm very blessed to work for a very good company that pays me well. I will tell you that I've donated a lot, right, beyond my stuff, because, and I heard it in Judy's story, at some point, you can't give. At some point, you have to worry about your own budget and stuff like that. So I just want to say that things like that, I weigh into it. And so I understand why the financial officers changed and said they needed to step away. All I'm asking for is put yourself in those shoes watching this. Like, you want the community, you want to keep the doors open, and you're just like, how are we going to do this? And people are donating their time, and you're just like, we just need new people. We need more people. We need people to think about that. So what I can say is spread the word, right? Any place you go, just drop it, talk about it, do something that really would help us do that. Sorry, my dog is not as well behaved as I would like. Okay, Lori, I think I might have seen something. Do you have a question? Okay, Amy, I'm going to ask if there's anything online. Broadcasting, so I don't drop the F-bomb and we get fined on the FCC.
And if everybody has bought a lottery ticket, if you win, please put Plymouth in your lottery payout. That would be really helpful. That would be the quickest way to establish an endowment for Plymouth.
Half. She did. She promised half. I heard it here.
That's why I'm
It's on recorded. It's recorded, so we know it's good. Okay. All right. Thank you all for letting me share. I'll be working through the office manager. We will put the full financial details so you can see exactly what went into how much we paid for building, how much we did for that. Again, we've done that in the past. Didn't really change a whole lot. I thought maybe more of the starkness of, holy crap, we need more money, is really the message I wanted to bring forth. So we'll be, before the end of the year, so 2 things. For the end of the year, the full financial report will be available. And before you start coming at me, your tax email things that come from PushPay will be done by January 15th. Technically, we have till January 31st to get them out. We will have those all to your inboxes by January 15th. So if you start asking me now, where's my tax payments papers, I will not have them until January 15th. So hang in there. Oh, yes. And if you're not getting something by January 15th, please let office manager know. She will help me triage the list and make sure that we rerun those to get your tax exempt forms. We are a nonprofit, so everything you give here, you can put back into your tax deductibles. So great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next slide, Amy. All right, so we did a survey. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to, we want to announce, Pastor Felix wants to announce before we start with the survey results, those people, speaking of volunteers, who have stepped up to be part of council for 2025.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, we were concerned a few months ago about who's going to serve on council. And I remember the moment Jan Lundy challenged us at one of our meetings. And so we got to work, and we started asking. And here are the new members that we're going to vote on in the January meeting. Bill Hoffman, Amby Hoffman, Mary Lowe is continuing on council, Pam Coiney, previously known as Pam Bayham. Call me what? Call you anything. Friend. Jan Lundy will continue. Peggy Johnson will continue. Scott Edwards, where's Scott? He's going to serve. Michael Ann, we all know Michael Ann is going to serve. Brent Alberta is going to serve. He's in Richmond Heights, Ohio, but they're members of the church, and they join us in worship. And Linda also tries to join us on book study group. And Rich Coral, who is the liaison between the Quakers and Plymouth. And let me announce that the new moderator of Plymouth in 2025 will be Bill Hoffman. Yay! Thank you, Bill. The treasurer will continue to be Kathy Normand. Mary Lowe has served as secretary. She'll continue as a council member, but she won't continue as a secretary. And we're going to work on getting a secretary. But she's done a great job. She stepped in to that role when we needed it and has done a really great job. So on January 5th, we're going to welcome new members to Plymouth United Church. Okay, you want to know who the new members are going to be? Bill Hoffman, Amby Hoffman, Kathy Norman, Scott Edwards, and Sylvia Ortiz, right? Ortiz, Sylvia Ortiz. Kate, you? I'm not going to be here January. Yeah, but you want to join as a new member? Oh, and Kate, that's 6. CJ, you're going to go for it too? And wow. All right, I'm going to start the list over. Bill, Amby, Kathy, Scott, Sylvia, Kate, and CJ. Wow. Isn't that good news? There's life. There's life. And so that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so again, thanks to everybody who's willing to serve on council. Pastor Felix and Bill and I met earlier this week, and I feel very confident that everybody's going to be in good hands with Bill as moderator. To say that I was happy when Bill accepted the moderator position would be a major understatement. Okay, so we offered a survey on Plymouth, for Plymouth, about just the reimagining of Plymouth. And we wanted to get answers from folks about what Plymouth meant to them, how well they understood the finances, how they volunteer at Plymouth, those kinds of things. So I have some of the results up here that I'll share with you. The first one is, how are you in community with Plymouth? So you'll see pretty much everybody is either a member or a friend of Plymouth. And my guess is that for some of those that completed, we'll be even closer to 100% membership. Next, Amy. How long have you been a part of the Plymouth community? So we have 31.3% that have been with Plymouth 0 to 3 years, and 68.8% that have been with Plymouth 10 plus years, which I found pretty astonishing because we don't have a whole lot of people in the middle. So now maybe people that are in the middle haven't taken the survey, so that might have be part of it too. Okay, next. How do you worship at Plymouth? So you can see in-person only is about 43.8%. In-person, but virtually when I can attend in person, it's 50%. And then virtually, I live out of state, is that smaller green square. So I think it's very significant that we have that green square, or that green triangle slice of pie, which is another reason why Brent is going to be part of our council, because we need to really be taking the virtual audience into consideration, our virtual community members. It's not an audience, it's our community members, into consideration, and make sure that that voice is represented. Next. What is your level of understanding of Plymouth's current financial situation? Well, I hope after today, the answer would be a complete understanding. But the good news is that the majority of folks, the overwhelming majority of folks that took the survey, have a good understanding, at least a good understanding of Plymouth's current financial situation. Next. To continue at Plymouth, or to continue Plymouth's legacy, I'm willing to travel. So I thought this was really interesting. Everybody's willing to travel. So this is north from Plymouth, so you can see pretty much everybody's willing to travel at least something. Next is, I think, south, again. Lots of people willing to travel. Next, east. And then west. So the good news is everybody understands that we might have to travel, and so that's the good news. All right, and I'm not sure what slide's next. There we go. How comfortable are you with selling our property and moving to another location? So we have a lot of folks who are either very comfortable, or neutral. So that is the purple, the green, and the yellowish. But we do have some folks, which I want to make sure that we recognize, which is about a third of folks who are either very uncomfortable or uncomfortable. Next. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to share with you is just some, there were places within the survey for folks to just answer some questions like, what does Plymouth mean to you? It is my spiritual home and has become a family of sorts. Dysfunctional, LOL. The joy of community. I really thought this one was interesting. A dream that has not materialized, an ideal that is not in sync with today's humans. Okay, hold on. And this is the last one I'll share. It is my home of worship. Plymouth is a place where I run toward challenges rather than away from them. It is a place I can be who I am, accepted, and be accepting of others. Plymouth is a place where I can grow and be with and in a community. Okay. The vision for Plymouth was another one. One was, I don't know what to say, I just love Plymouth. We need both a physical space and an online presence. My dream is to be financially stable so we can continue to worship God together, be safe and grow in community, and grow our community. However, the building seems to be collapsing around us. And I won't go into all the stuff that's collapsing because I think y'all know, but, and this is somebody who said that they would be very sad if we did end up selling Plymouth. Somebody said their vision is to sell the building and property and continue being Plymouth for the UCC community. Okay. And I will tell you that everybody that completed the survey has volunteered in at least one or more capacities. So I know 16 respondents doesn't look like a lot, but when you look around the room and know what quorum is, that's a pretty significant group of folks. So as I mentioned, council has been wrestling with this issue and what we're going to do and how we want to continue to be in community. The good news is that we're sitting on 3.4 acres of prime real estate. The bad news, or maybe not great news, is that in order to realize what we're sitting on, we would have to sell the property. So I just want y'all to understand how this process works, okay? First of all, what council is gonna recommend is that we simply put Plymouth on the market. That does not mean it's sold. It does not mean we're selling it. It means that we want to put it on the market and see what we can get from some ones who want to buy it. Our goal is to create a bidding war, honestly, to be able to get, see how much we can actually get for the property. Now, again, selling it does not mean that not selling it, putting it on the market does not mean it's sold. In order for that to happen, offers will have to come from the real estate agent. They would go to Pastor Felix and the new council. The new council would then make a recommendation based on the offers. If we get one that seems to be what we feel like is a fair price, and then it would come back to the congregation for a vote to sell the property. So what council is simply recommending is that we put the property on the market. We have a real estate agent. She is very good. She's given us great advice thus far about what to do. So council is recommending that we at least put the property on the market and see what kind of value we can get from that. Now, my guess is, and I'm going to come back to that because we have to have a formal motion and second for that. Amy, can you go to the next slide, please? All right, so I'm sure your next questions are, okay, well, if we sell, where are we going? This is just one potential opportunity. We are looking at a number of them, but this is Cypress Creek Christian Church, which is about 2.2 miles from where we are now, and is about 6 miles away. And so, 2.2 miles away and takes 6 minutes. 2.2 miles away and takes 6 minutes from Plymouth to get there. This is a Disciples of Christ church. They did not do the final open and affirming vote, but they advertise on their website that they are open and they do affirm the LGBTQIA plus community. This would be the potential room where we could be. If you look, so there are two different views here. There's a closer view on the first one there to the right of the logo, is where we could put out fellowship stuff. The other part of the room, it's actually their choir room, but it's really big, and it would seat about 45 people in chairs. We would have assistance in setting those chairs up by the janitorial staff or the custodian or whoever they have. Yeah, would help us set up every Sunday. We would potentially be able to bring some of our equipment, like our cameras, and be able to install that in the room so that we could continue a very viable and good online ministry, because we don't want that to suffer based on where we are. So this is just one possibility. There are other possibilities. Pastor Felix, myself, my husband Trey, Mark, and Jeff went there about a week and a half or so ago to take pictures. They actually have this really cool chapel that is there, but that would not work because there are no bathroom facilities in the chapel. So that would mean going outside. Going outside to go to the bathroom, not literally going outside. Sorry. Sorry about that. Words matter. So this is just a possibility. So I want everybody to also understand that there is the minister there has been through this process. When he was in Florida, in Naples, Florida, they had to sell their building and their property. And they actually had a trailer with all their stuff on it, and they set up at a school and some other stuff. I don't think that Plymouth is interested in carting around a trailer and having to set up everything every Sunday. I know I'm not. I was actually a part of a United Methodist church that did that in Charlotte, North Carolina before I moved to Texas, and it is a tremendous undertaking. So this would offer us space. There would be potential office space also that we would be able to have, and we would also have the opportunity to do some ministries together. They have a youth minister, they have children's ministries, and those are things that we would be able to work with them on. So again, this is not Plymouth being absorbed by anybody or anything like that. This is one of the places where we know that they would accept us as who we are as Plymouth and welcome us, especially with their minister having gone through this process himself.
Maybe I can just say one thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I will. The one thing I want to say is that it's Christian Church Disciples of Christ, but we all know it in our country and around the world as Disciples of Christ or Discípulos de Cristo, but it's Christian Church Disciples of Christ. The UCC and the Disciples of Christ have a formal relationship, a very close formal relationship, was voted on at our General Synod many, many years ago. Their pastors can pastor our churches, and our pastors and ministers can pastor their churches. They don't need to go for privilege of call. At a General Synod, both denominations came together, which was a historic gathering. And at that synod, both of the denominations voted to enter into this formal relationship, into this formal arrangement. So we would be participating or worshiping in a church, in a congregation that is already in relationship to the United Church of Christ.
Okay. Absolutely. We're getting ready to open it up to questions right now.
Yeah, well, for sure, Paul.
Can I get someone to help run the microphone, because I'm doing like 6 things right now. It's on.
Okay, I'm just asking because it. Yes, ma'am. Okay, on a pie chart, what is the ethnicity that's there?
Well,
Is there another one? Yeah.
Okay, I just want to jump in a little bit. This option is still just an option. So I appreciate your questions, but at this point, we would just be, can we use the space? We're just trying to make sure we understand some things. So the ethnicity stuff, we're still Plymouth. So I guess my question would be is, what is our ethnicity? Because that's our community and we'd be using a space. I'm not saying that we wouldn't do other things or there's opportunities. I want to make sure our council meeting or this community meeting is focused on the management of change and emotions that go into, are we okay with the thought of listing the property? So many more steps down that journey before we go there. And I just want to make sure we don't get tied up into this community or that community or what the space is. More importantly, can we come together and understand listing so we know, because maybe there's better options if the bidding wars go crazy, right? Maybe there's others. So I just want to make sure that we kind of stay on point, because otherwise we'll be here for.
Okay.
So basically hold that question. That's what I was asking.
Okay, here's the thing. I want to make sure everybody understood. The reason that we're opening this up for questions right now, and the reason we even have this on the screen, is because we knew that before we sell the property, before we decide on listing the property, that there are going to be questions.
Oh, okay.
And so absolutely, I don't know the ethnic makeup right now. I know that they have, on their website, I don't think it's too terribly different than what we have here. So, yeah, I don't think it's terribly
No, you had
different.
told me the other day, I said my questions may not be related. You said, no, we want to hear what you have to say. So that was why I asked that.
There's no bad questions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad you raised it, Paula, and we can get that precise information, but I appreciate what Kathy's saying. I think they're probably more like us than anything else.
Yeah, I just want to say
Okay, hang on, guys. Hang on, okay.
that's the church that my grandchildren go to. So it's pretty much like this one. When they're with their father, that's where they go.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would encourage you to go to their website. Don't try to do it on Facebook. I tried that and it doesn't have all the information you need. But you can go to their website and see exactly kind of what they stand for.
This is a campus. This is a huge campus. This is in the educational building, so just know that.
It's very nice. I've been to programs there. They do Christmas. Go ahead, Kate.
So do we, a couple of questions. Do we own this church outright?
This one.
Yes.
Well, for all intent and purposes.
There's not a mortgage on it.
Well, the national church has one, but we're negotiating with them about not having to pay that whole thing back. If we had to pay the whole thing back, it would be a little over $300,000.
Can you explain it's an old loan?
It's an old loan.
It's not a mortgage. It's an
Yeah.
old loan that the church secured from the national. Okay, go ahead.
Secured from the national church over time, many years ago. A lot of it happened in the 90s. Some even happened in the 80s, but most of it happened with all the refinancing in the 90s. In all honesty, and don't anybody quote me on this, but we're not sure they really knew how much we had in a loan because it was so old. So we have talked with them about that, and they initially have told us, don't worry about that right now.
And do we have any ballpark on how much this is worth?
The real estate agent wants to list it for $2.5 million. There are a couple people here, I'm not one of them, who think that's too high, but I think we have to put something out there to see what we can potentially get. If we get, say, $2 million after everything's been paid, or 1.9 or whatever, then Bill and Pastor Felix and I had a long discussion about this. The path forward is not just to sell the property. The path forward is to, if we sell the property, then we are going to invest that money so that we can eventually get our own space and to create an endowment so that we don't get in this kind of financial situation again.
Are we talking about rebuilding or purchasing another church, or is that down the road?
We don't know yet. Okay. We've been told by someone who builds churches that if we bought land and tried to build something with all the permitting and everything in Harris County, it would be way more than we would want to invest. So he suggested get a box, and then that company can make the box work. But what we would like to do is to be able to invest this money for a period of time, figure out, how much we would take off in interest or whatever, but make sure that whatever's happening, we are creating a financial future for Plymouth.
I want to make two comments. First of all, to piggyback on the Disciples of Christ, they almost became part of the United Church of Christ. We were that close. And they're very, very liberal, so I have no problem there. The second thing I want to say is I saw a report from ABC News. Over the last 20 years, the United States has lost 1,000 churches every year. So just to keep our doors open in this environment would be a great victory, even if that means teaming up with another church. So those are my comments.
I have a couple of comments plus questions. Have we discussed, or have you discussed rent payment for us using the space?
We did talk with the pastor about that. He said that they understand where we are financially, and that they would be willing to work with us for, while we don't have any money, but then whatever we did pay would be a fair amount, and not a fair amount. It would be fair for us and for them. There's a possibility, you know, there are all different kinds of possibilities, but we did talk with him, and he was very open. Again, he's been through this, and so he has an understanding that not a lot of ministers might have.
Okay, my other question, and this may be preemptive, and this may be jumping forward, but I'm sorry. My question is, if we do decide to move wherever, we have to make a decision on everything, whether we keep it or we put it in storage. And storage is not cheap, okay? So, and we as a congregation have to make these decisions. And so, excuse us. And so my question is that also being considered when, is that also being considered with the council when we consider moving and everything else?
Yes, all of that will be under consideration. Yes, we will have to decide what we're going to take. We really don't need to take much. What we're going to store. There will be a team that will be put together that will help manage that whole process, because it would literally be like a change management process in a company.
So, pardon me, I have been a member here for several decades now. I was here in the late 90s and early 2000s when the loan that we're talking about now was made, although I was not privy to any details of that. That was after the time I served as moderator. I did know Millie Oman. Millie and her husband Bill donated the land for the church back in the 1980s when this was all farmland and they owned acreage out here. Millie passed away shortly after my first wife was killed in her very tragic auto accident. Millie was feisty to the end, bless her heart. She lived to a ripe old age. She was the grande dame of the church at that time, and I have real mixed emotions because I am sure that she and Bill are just turning over in their graves at this situation, because we have had so many fits and starts on growing the congregation. Some have worked, some have not. But times change, and change is very difficult. Believe me, change is very, very difficult, and sometimes it's very hard to accept.
No.
So I understand where we are. I understand why we're doing this, even though it is very uncomfortable. In my time here since the early mid-1990s, Plymouth has never had the financial wherewithal to fund programs to help us grow. And there will find a path forward to help this congregation and grow this congregation.
And Andrew, thank you for saying that. One of the things that is a next step for us, regardless of the vote today, but one of the things that is a next step for us is we are going to be going through a reimagining process, which the entire congregation will be able to participate in. There is a group through United Church of Christ that does this. They know what they're doing. They do it virtually so that everyone can attend and be part of it. and they will take the congregation through this process so that we can do exactly what you said, Andrew, figure out how it is that we want to be in community, how we can best serve not only our local community, but what can we do to serve the state, the world, all of that. How can we best be in community together?
Amy and Felix, I did have one question I almost forgot to ask, and this might be a bit technical, but you mentioned what the real estate agent wanted to list the property at. Did she do a competitive market analysis, and what was the numbers and the timeline? Having been a realtor, having been a broker, I know that there's generally you get like a 30-day listing, 60-day listing, 90-day plus listing price.
So she did do a market comparison. My guess is because that was done a while back, that depending upon the vote today, if we make a call to put it on the market, she is going to do another market analysis, and then will give us that 30, 60, 90, because as I mentioned, what she had done previously, the market fluctuates so much.
This has been some time
Yeah.
since she
Yeah.
did the previous one.
Yep.
But we're, thank you, Andrew, for bringing up that point. Those are the weeds, and we're going to get into the weeds, and we will always keep the church informed about those details, okay? And I want us to hear what Andrew said about that this church in its history has really never had money for programs. Now, if we're able to leverage this property and come upon a good amount of money, part of that money can now go to programs, can now go to ministries, can now go to getting the word out. Clearly, we would want to set up an endowment for sure, but then we can say, hey, let's set aside these monies for us as a congregation and to create programs and ministries, and who knows who we need to hire to move the church forward based on what is it that we want to be as a congregation.
Anybody else have any questions? What? Amy did wait for the mic, though. That's good. I'm sorry, you've had 3. That's the allotment.
I had 2.
Oh.
This is my 3rd.
Okay.
Okay. My question is what is the timeline? If we vote yes to put it on this market, will it go, I'm assuming because of the holidays, it will not, the soonest it will go on the market is at the beginning of the year. Is that correct?
Yep. So if we vote today to at least put it on the market, then the next steps will be right after the first of the year, we will contact the real estate agent, and then Renee will get things moving. And then my guess is that Bill's going to be taking over moderator's moment, and so that kind of information will be something that the church will be kept abreast of.
Okay, that was my other question. As we all know, having a congregational meeting is not always convenient. If we can put, bids and that stuff in some kind of format in Thursday's Thoughts, or even if we need to send out an additional email blast, I just want us to make sure that we are well informed of everything that's going on.
Okay, and we will, for sure. A slight correction. I will call the real estate agent tomorrow. Tomorrow. She knows about this congregational meeting, and then she'll probably get it on the market in January. But she's waiting to hear about how we voted.
Okay, so I feel like the emotional of this has been kind of So I want to say, look, this doesn't have to be a horrible thing. I mean, if we end up selling this property and moving, I'm going to be very sad. But we will do what we need to do to go through a grieving release process for the property. We're not, you know, this land and this building mean too much to too many people for us to just go, yeah, bye, see ya. So the good news is that we have this land, we have this opportunity to potentially put Plymouth in a situation where Plymouth has never been before, where we have an endowment, where we have, you know, we can educate people about what it means to be a part of the community, what it means to give, you know, instead of feeling like we're always in survival mode. Because I will tell you, this is my second round as moderator. Don't ever ask me to do this again. It is emotionally exhausting, especially when you are constantly in survival mode. And how are we going to pay the bills? What are we going to do here? The fact that our minister has offered to take a temporary cut in pay, that's the other thing. If Pastor Felix has to do that, he will be paid back. He's doing it at no interest, but he will be paid back whatever it is that he contributes to help us keep the doors open, if and when we sell the property. And if we don't, he'll just pull his hair out.
Just to support your feelings, yes, being the moderator has been a emotionally draining job for.
And I think that's what I want us to try to think about, instead of like, oh my gosh, we might not be here anymore, or we're going to put something on the market. I want us to imagine what the future might look like if we're not in survival mode all the time. Can you imagine what we can do? And I think that goes to the whole reimagining process. So if there are no more questions, I would like to ask some. Do you have a question? I have a motion. Thank you. That's what I was going to ask for.
This is Sandy Ellison. I move that we put the Plymouth property on the market to see what might be in our future.
Thank you. Do we have a second? TJ seconds it. Okay.
Let's get it just exactly as Sandy said it.
Yep, Sandy's got it. She's going to head over and give it to Amy. Oh, you're welcome. Please know how much I love this church. It was a lot of emotional labor, but I mean, I would do it again if I was needed, but I need to let go for a while. Thank you. But I firmly believe in what this church stands for. I firmly believe that this church is needed more now than it ever has been and will continue to be for many years to come. Oh, we have a second. TJ seconded it. Okay. All right, I'm going to ask for people to raise their hands, please. I'm going to start with opposed. It's okay if you're opposed. Don't feel bad. Those opposed to putting the property on the market, please raise your hand. Okay, we have one. All in favor of putting the property on the market, please raise your hand. Okay. Oh. Got it? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. What now? I have one vote for yes on mine. Okay. All right. Oh, okay, we have a couple people online. Okay, so 3 votes for yes online. You're abstaining, okay. All right, so the motion passes. And I know that there will be a lot of information coming, so please be looking in Thursday's thoughts for that. And we will have a council meeting. We will have a congregational meeting on January the 15th, the 12th, January the 12th, which is a Sunday before what would be the first council meeting. And during that meeting, if there are any updates, we will provide those about anything that's happened with real estate, and then we will vote in the new council, okay? Can we just adjourn? Do we have to have a motion to adjourn?
No, since we've already agreed on, we've gone through the agenda and we've already agreed on the next meeting.
Okay. All right, we're adjourned. Thank y'all very much.
Just if there had been no meeting scheduled,